welcome to Quiz Class. My name's Ellis and I'll be your host for today's quiz. This is a quiz all about World War I and World War II, and our questions are geared towards the UK's involvement in those wars. We'd love you to let us know at the end of the video how you've ranked based on our Quiz Class awards, Champion, Master, Enthusiast, Apprentice or Explorer. Let us know how you fared at the end. Let's get started with question 1. Good luck. Which offensive ended World War I? Nivelle, 100 Days or the Spring Offensive? World War I was ended by the 100 Days Offensive. How did the Daily Telegraph recruit cryptographers in 1942? Encrypted message, job advertisement, or crossword contest? So you have 3 multiple choice options for each question. You need to identify which one is correct. For number 2, the answer is crossword contest. Who advised King George V to declare war in 1914? Winston Churchill, David Lloyd George, or H.H. Asquith? The answer is H.H. Asquith. What was the SMLE standard issue British weapon in World War I? Grenade, rifle, or bayonet? The correct answer is rifle. Which Welsh troops served on the Western Front from 1914 to 1918? Royal Welsh Mariners, Royal Welsh Brigadiers, or Royal Welsh Fusiliers? The answer is Royal Welsh Fusiliers. Question 6. What were Lily and Clover in World War II? Floating airfields, training facilities, or munitions factories? What were Lily and Clover in World War II? The answer is floating airfields. Question 7. What did DORA stand for in World War I? Defence of the Realm Agreement, Defence of the Realm Act, or Defence of the Realm Amendment? Are we looking for agreement, act, or amendment? The answer is Defence of the Realm Act. What was slang for a British soldier in World War I? Tommy Atwood, Tommy Atkins, or Tommy Atswick? The correct answer is Tommy Atkins. What language was the popular British World War II song Lily Marlene originally written in? German, French, or Danish? The popular British World War II song Lily Marlene was originally written in German. Question 10. How many Chantilly conferences were there between 1915 and 1916? 2, 3, or 4? We are 10 questions into the quiz so far. Hope you settled in and enjoying yourself. The answer to question 10 is question 3. 3 is the answer. Which World War I troops were called the Ladies from Hell is your question for question 11. Is the answer Scottish soldiers in kilts, British soldiers in trench coats, or Welsh soldiers in ponchos? Which World War I troops were called the Ladies from Hell? The answer is Scottish soldiers in kilts. What were Stobs and Culty Bragan during World War II? Secret ports, prisoner of war camps, or decoy operations? The answer is prisoner of war camps. 13. Where was the 1940 Battle of Sedan? France, Belgium, or Germany? The correct answer is France. What isn't Daniel Finkelstein's Hitler, Stalin, Mum and Dad not about? Life under Mussolini's rule, life under Nazi rule, or life under Soviet rule? The answer is life under Mussolini's rule. Of the 5 million British men enlisted in World War I, how many were conscripts? 1.77 million, 2.77 million, or 3.77 million? The answer is 2.77 million. 16. Where didn't British submarines fight in World War II? Arctic Theatre, Mediterranean Theatre, or Pacific Theatre? The answer is the Pacific Theatre. During World War II, what did British troops aim to secure control of in North Africa? Strait of Gibraltar, Suez Canal, or Gulf of Tunis? The answer is the Suez Canal. Question 18. Which port wasn't bombarded by a German battlecruiser squadron in April 1916? Yarmouth, Lowestoft, or Dover? Which port wasn't bombarded? The answer is Dover. In World War II, how many British women were ultimately called up for conscription in auxiliary services? Around 6,000, around 60,000, or around 600,000? The answer is around 600,000. Question 20. Complete the title of J.C. Dunn's World War I diary memoir. The war the infantry knew, saw, or survived? The answer is the war the infantry knew. What in-demand fabric did Northern Ireland produce in World War II? Wool, linen, or canvas? In World War II, Northern Ireland produced linen. 22. What type of art did Eric Kennington produce as an official World War I artist? Drawings of soldiers, depictions of trenches, or landscape paintings? The correct answer is drawings of soldiers. Question 23. What was Ultra during World War II? Letters Interception Project, Signals Intelligence Project, or Atomic Research Project? The correct answer is Signals Intelligence Project. Which German ship was sunk by the UK in the 1914 Battle of Rio de Oro? SS Kronprinz Wilhelm, SS Kronprinzessin Cecilie, SS Kaiser Wilhelm de Gross? The answer is SS Kaiser Wilhelm de Gross. 25. What were VADs in World War II? Voluntary Auxiliary Detachments, Voluntary Apolitical Detachments, or Voluntary Aid Detachments? VADs in World War II were Voluntary Aid Detachments. Where did the UK government enter the majority of Germans, Austrians, and Italians during World War II? Isle of Skye, Isle of Arran, or Isle of Man? The answer is the Isle of Man. Where did Montgomery command troops in World War II? Balkans, North Africa, or South Africa? The answer is North Africa. 28. What wasn't a British anti-tank weapon in World War II? Boy's anti-tank rifle, Payet or Panjandrum? The answer is Panjandrum. 29. In the 1940 to 41 Blitz, what percentage of London buildings were damaged or destroyed? 35, 60 or 85%? And these are approximate percentage estimations. The answer is approximately 60% of buildings. What did Inverness and Invergordon support? Refugee boat routes, heavy water production, or US Navy operations? The correct answer is US Navy operations. What central role did Charles Masterman play for the British government in World War I? Weapons testing, propaganda production, or diplomatic negotiations? The answer is propaganda production. Which country wasn't a major World War II ally for British forces in East Africa? China, South Africa, or India? The answer is China. Question 33. What was Your King and Country Want You written for in 1914? Women's recruiting song, war donation song, or young men's enlistment song? So the song is Your King and Country Want You. What was that written for? The answer is women's recruiting song. What did the German Air Force target in World War II? Glasgow docks, Cardiff docks, or Liverpool docks? The answer is Cardiff docks. Which ally fought alongside the UK in the 1940 Battle of the Espero Convoy? Australia, Canada, or New Zealand? In the Battle of the Espero Convoy, it was Australia who fought alongside the UK. What was the Home Guard called before World War II? British United Front, Local Defence Volunteers, or Kingdom Guards? The answer is the Local Defence Volunteers. 37. What wasn't a nickname for British trench digging machinery in World War II? White Rabbit, Nellie, or True Blue? What wasn't a nickname for British trench digging machinery in World War II? The answer is True Blue. In World War I, what was the first experimental seaplane carrier in the Royal Navy? HMS Pegasus, HMS Hermes, or HMS Apollo? The correct answer is HMS Hermes. Complete the title of Vere Hodgson's World War II novel. Few eggs and no butter, oranges, or sugar. The answer is few eggs and no oranges. What was the most famous Spitfire model? Mark 3, Dark 6, or Mark 9? Pick a rhyming word, pick a multiple of 3. The answer that we're looking for is Mark 9. 41. What did JFC Fuller's Plan 1919 advocate for? Invading Germany from the North Sea, using tanks and aerial bombing, or surrender and division of France? The answer is using tanks and aerial bombing. What did the Women's Land Army do during World War II? Mining Great Britain's coastal borders, training civilians in hand combat, or farming and food production? The answer is farming and food production. What did Noor Inayat Khan do for the British government in World War II? Diplomacy, surgery, or espionage? Diplomacy, surgery, or espionage? The answer is espionage. 44. Which battle was the action of 22nd of August 1917 part of? Battle of Cambrai, Battle of Vimy Ridge, or Battle of Passchendaele? The answer is the Battle of Passchendaele. Question 45. Which bayonet was designed to be used with the Lee Enfield rifle in World War II? Tartan 1907, Patton 1907, or Robin 1907? The answer is Patton 1907. Which UK city was hit by 4 major German air raids in April and May 1941? Edinburgh, Cardiff, or Belfast? The answer is Belfast. Which nation wasn't part of the Triple Entente with the UK in World War I? Russia, Canada, or France? The answer is Canada. Who wrote the 1916 poem My Boy Jack for the youngest recipient of the Victoria Cross? George Orwell, Rudyard Kipling, or Thomas Hardy? My Boy Jack was written by Rudyard Kipling. 49. Which women's service was formed in 1917, disbanded in 1919, then revived in 1939? Women's Royal Army Service, Women's Royal Air Service, or Women's Royal Naval Service? The answer is the Women's Royal Naval Service. Question 50. Which country wasn't an Entente power alongside the British Empire in 1916? Italy, Poland, or the US? The correct answer is the US, and we are now halfway through this quiz. 51. What writing form is R.C. Sherriff's World War I story Journey's End? Song, novella, or play? R.C. Sherriff's World War I story Journey's End is written as a play. 52. What percentage of workers at Bletchley Park in World War II were women? Around 25%, around 50%, or around 75%? The answer is around 75%. Which offensive did Douglas Haig lead in 1915? Somme, Gallipoli, or Monastir? The correct answer is the Somme offensive. Which ally fought the Battle of the River Plate alongside the UK in 1939? Australia, Canada, or New Zealand? The correct answer is New Zealand. Which country did Britain owe over £1.3 billion by the end of World War II? China, Singapore, or India? The answer is India. What was the British Salonika force in World War I? Caucasus Military Unit, Balkan Military Unit, or Scandinavian Military Unit? The answer is the Balkan Military Unit. What was Elizabeth's royal title in World War II? Lady, Princess, or Duchess? The answer is Princess. 58. What was Colossus in World War II? Code-breaking operation, code-breaking computer, or a code-breaking building? What was Colossus? The answer is a code-breaking computer. Who said in World War II, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few"? Winston Churchill, Neville Chamberlain, or King George VI? The answer is Winston Churchill. Question 60. Who didn't sign the Atlantic Charter in 1941? Winston Churchill, Charles de Gaulle, or Franklin D. Roosevelt? Who didn't sign the Atlantic Charter? The answer is Charles de Gaulle. Complete the name of this 1915 Gallipoli campaign battle. Battle for Baby 700, Honey 600, or Darling 500? The answer is Baby 700. 62. What role did Anthony Eden play in World War II for the British government? Home Secretary, Defence Secretary, or Foreign Secretary? What role did Anthony Eden play in World War II for the British government? He was a Foreign Secretary. Which revolver wasn't used by the British infantry in World War II? Webley Mk6 revolver, Colt Detective Special, or Enfield No. 2 revolver? The answer is the Colt Detective Special. What area of Scotland was a major centre for munitions production during World War I? Dundee, Inverness, or Clyde? The answer is Clyde. What was the Affray submarine? Late World War I submarine, early World War II submarine, or late World War II submarine? What was the Affray submarine? The answer is late World War II submarine. Who was Flora Sands in World War I? Britain's first international nurse, Britain's first female Member of Parliament, or Britain's only female soldier? The answer is Britain's only female soldier. Where was Britain's main theatre of war in World War I? Eastern Front, African Front, or Western Front? Britain's main theatre of war in World War I is the Western Front. Which country did the British government impose conscription on in 1918? Scotland, Wales, or Ireland? And of course the answer has to be Ireland. What did the 1935 Anglo-German naval agreement allow Germany to build? Up to 15% of the UK Navy's tonnage, up to 35% of the UK Navy's tonnage, or up to 55% of the UK Navy's tonnage? The answer is up to 35%. What was Fitzroy MacLean's World War II memoir, Eastern Approaches, about? Paratroop service, RAF service, or SAS service? The answer is SAS. Which treaty after World War II is a mutual assistance pact between France and the UK? Treaty of Dunkirk, Treaty of Normandy, or Treaty of The Hague? The answer is Treaty of Dunkirk. In World War II, which country gave Britain the never-repaid billion-dollar gift? The US, Turkey, or Canada? Britain was given the never-repaid billion-dollar gift by Canada in World War II. The answer is Canada. On what front was Kassala fought in 1940? The Pacific Front, the African Front, or the Eastern Front? This is question 73. As we head into the final quarter of this quiz, the answer to that question is African Front. Where were the conscripted Welsh Bevin boys sent after 1943? Munitions factories, coal mines, or shipyards? After 1943, the conscripted Welsh Bevin boys were sent to coal mines. What wasn't a name for the Royal Navy aircraft carrier class in World War I? Glorious class, virtuous class, or courageous class? The correct answer to question 75 is the virtuous class. 76. Which German resource was defeated by the British at the end of May 1943? Panzer IV, U-boats, or Luftwaffe? The answer is U-boats. What front was the World War I British Expeditionary Force formed for? Belgium, Germany, or France? They were formed for France. Question 78. Which unit of the British Army did Randolph Churchill volunteer for in 1942? Field Army, Home Command, or SAS? The answer is SAS. Question 79. Complete the famous news headline of 1914. Britain at arms, combat, or war? The correct answer is Britain at war. Which 1940 film was a public information piece about the World War II evacuation of children? Tally-Ho, Britannia-Ho, or Westward Ho? The answer is Westward Ho. What was the Canal Defence Light in World War II? British secret weapon, D-Day code name, or encryption code? The correct answer is the British secret weapon. In World War I, what was Winston Churchill the first Lord of? The Army, the Admiralty, or the Assembly? The answer is the Admiralty. What was the Covenanter weapon, Britain's worst in World War II? What was the Covenant weapon, Britain's worst in World War II? A bomber, a submarine, or a tank? The answer is a tank. Complete the title of the British Nurses Service in World War I. Blank Imperial Military Nursing Service. Is it Queen Alexandra's, Queen Elizabeth's, or Queen Victoria's? The British Nursing Service's name in World War I was the Queen Alexandra's Imperial Military Nursing Service. What wasn't Drummond used for in World War II? Nuclear research, resistance training, or Allied spies? What wasn't it used for? The answer is nuclear research. What language was the World War I HMS Ben My Cree name derived from? Scottish, Ulster Scots, or Manx? The answer is Manx. Which women were most highly prized for working in administrative intelligence in World War II? Academics, mothers, or debutantes? The answer is debutantes. Which submarine class was the backbone of Britain's World War I submarine fleet? B class, E class, or G class? The answer that we're looking for is E class, E for Echo. Which season was the 1940 Battle of Britain not in? Winter, summer, or autumn? So did it happen in autumn and winter? Or did it happen in summer and autumn? Which season was it not in? The answer is winter. What was the WAAC of World War I later renamed? Queen Alexandra's Army Auxiliary Corps, Queen Elizabeth's Army Auxiliary Corps, or Queen Mary's Army Auxiliary Corps? The answer is the Queen Mary's Army Auxiliary Corps. And we've got 10 questions left now. What consensus emerged in Britain in 1945 at the end of World War II? Post-ration, post-war, or post-welfare? The answer is post-war. What were the British dreadnought battleships named after? HMS Brecon, HMS Dreadnought, or HMS Raleigh? The answer is HMS Dreadnought. Which World War II battle was the British Pacific Fleet part of? Battle of Okinawa, Battle of Midway, or Battle of Wuhan? The answer is the Battle of Okinawa. Who wasn't involved in running a first aid post near the Belgian front in World War I? Elsie Knocker, Nan Herbert, or Mary Chisholm? The answer is Nan Herbert. Which 1942 agreement preceded the 1943 Brussels Agreement? London, Holden, or Walden? The correct answer is the Holden Agreement. What nickname did Adrian Carton de Wiat have during World War I? The Unkillable Soldier, the Unknown Soldier, or the Undercover Soldier? The correct answer is the Unkillable Soldier. What colour was women's skin turned to from handling TNT in World War I factories? Yellow, purple, or green? Because of handling TNT in World War I factories, women's skin turned to yellow. Which volunteer unit fought in the 1930 Winter War? Gordon Highlanders, Athol Highlanders, or Seaforth Highlanders? Gordon, Athol, or Seaforth? The answer is the Athol Highlanders. 99. Complete the Welsh matching song used in World War I. Pack up your troubles in your old wheelbarrow, old wool cap, or old kit bag. An eagle-eared amongst you will have noticed I said matching. We're looking for a Welsh marching song. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag is the answer. Which volunteers didn't serve alongside troops from Great Britain in World War I? Republican, Irish, or Ulster? Which volunteers didn't serve alongside troops from Great Britain in World War I? The answer is Republican. Here's a bonus question. What does VE stand for? Let us know the answer to that one in the comments, and whilst you're there, let us know how many points you scored and which quiz class award you are taking home. Champion, Master, Enthusiast, Apprentice, or an Explorer. We would love to know however you ranked. And that really is the end of our quiz today. Thanks a lot for playing, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified in all of our upcoming videos. My name's Ellis and I've been your host today, and if you can't wait for our next quiz to be uploaded, there are plenty of other quizzes that you can try right now, so why not dive into another one? Thanks again for joining us today at Quiz Class. We'll see you next time.